the Know Your Gear podcast. The Know Your Gear podcast is brought to you by Patreon members, channel members, and viewers who like and subscribe. Thank you for making this possible.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Know Your Gear podcast, episode 426. I need to tilt my screen. Look at that. Hope everybody had a fantastic week. I did. It was a really good week. I'll share some of it with you because I'm sure somebody will like it. We also have some really cool updates from some stuff that's going on in YouTube, and I think a lot of you are going to want to know. So we're going to pin that to the end of the show. So unfortunately, you have to wait to find out what that is. But if you're watching it on the replay, just go to the timestamp. A lot of people are complaining about what their name display is on their on YouTube, and we're going to show you how to fix that if you don't know. Okay. All right, let's get into so many things. First of all, I want to take a second to thank the patrons and the channel members for supporting the podcast for 426 episodes, which really could be 427 or 425. At some point, I don't think we actually know the real official number, so we just kind of wing it. But also, I want to thank the moderators who make the live show flow, especially since the live show gets a benefit, which is there's no ads during the live part of the show. So if you're watching it live, there's no ads. If you watch it on Patreon and you're a $5 member and above, there's no ads. If you listen to it on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, there's no ads. So there you go. And if you watch it on YouTube, there's as many ads as YouTube could shove into this thing without making you so nuts you can't take it. And don't worry, I get to benefit in that in the tens of dollars, and I appreciate that. So sometimes I do think about the fact that I'm like, wow, as many commercials they shove in, I'm like, it shouldn't be. I don't know. It doesn't matter. All right. You know what? We're lucky to even be here. Let's just start there. Okay. What do we got? Well, the main topic today, believe it or not, we had a funny thing happen. I had some really cool, exciting stuff to share with you today, and we just found out we can't share it. We didn't know. So it happens. It happens. It's funny because I have 7 guitars / other things here that I can't share with you guys until September and October, late October even. And I think even something as far as out as November, December. So we've been sitting on all these like secrets. So I was super excited to share something new. And then I found out, oh, it's a secret. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was a secret. So I guess everything's a secret. So good news from that. If you got a jonesing for some new gear, trust me, fourth quarter seems to be where it's at. That's a lot of gear. In fact, this will be the most amount of new gear I'm ever going to demonstrate on the channel for a fourth quarter since I've been doing this. It's crazy. Okay. In fact, almost every week, something will be a new product well, not every week, but you get the idea, but a lot. Okay. Let's get into some topics. We'll look around and see. And let's go to where I kept this. Cool. There it is. All right, let's start with this one. We're going to start with Antique Rocker, who says, hey, have you seen StewMac's True Temperament necks for Telecaster and Stratocaster style guitars? Could you please do a video of replacing a Squire neck with one of these? I will not, Antique Rocker. So I did a video on True Temperament. I bought a Strandberg guitar with True Temperament. I really did like it. I did not end up keeping it. And I'll explain why, and I'll explain even right now I'm looking at a situation where I could do another video of another guitar, True Temperament. But I'm going to tell you where True Temperament lies for me, and because here's the reason I did it. Why did I buy such an expensive Strandberg guitar with True Temperament? Well, because like everything, like the Evertune video and stuff, I like to experience things and then share that experience. The best advice I ever got on YouTube came from an amazing YouTube channel who unfortunately was lost. He passed away. But he said this thing, it was private. It wasn't even on like a live show. He said, basically, I'm going to add this part. If you're a good YouTuber, okay? He just said if you're a YouTuber. But I think if you're a good YouTuber, you work kind of like a surrogate. In other words, somebody can't physically be there to try this piece of gear. And, and like we said, in the environment of you got to buy before you can try, it's nice if someone can relay that information to you. And with experience, like, hey, I tried it. Not just, hey, I opened it out of the box and it was fine for 5 minutes. It's like, I tried it. So what did I learn from 1 year of having a True Temperament guitar? So I had the guitar for 1 year. I made sure I kept it for 1 year. I actually had it a little longer than a year, but I like anything 6 months, a year minimum, just to see, because you do kind of go through like I love it, I hate it, I don't use it, why don't I use it kind of modes. Here's the thing with True Temperament. I think the system is fantastic. I really love the way the guitar sounds. It really is really pleasing to me. Some people have a different response. They think it sounds like sterile, like a keyboard or whatever. To me, it sounds really beautiful and sustains and sounds great. But what I learned is I can't play it with any other guitars. So I can't play with any other musicians with it. It doesn't sound right to me. So if they grab like a Telecaster and you grab a True Temperament guitar, you just kind of sound slightly out of tune from each other. I really didn't enjoy that experience. And for somebody out there, maybe some super, like Dr. Andre Flood, who's like a super amazing player who has an amazing ear, maybe he hears something and he can make some adjustments. But for me, from where I'm at, I played it and I was like, I'm not digging it when I'm jamming with somebody. So realistically, I love True Temperament as a acoustic guitar. In fact, I really would like to own a True Temperament acoustic guitar. I like it for chords. It really does nothing for me for scales or anything like that. I don't really find a need for myself. Again, just my needs. I really like strumming, especially like the C chord, right? Or the Bart F chord and stuff, but mostly the C chord where it sounds a little dissonant to me, to my ears. Like it always sounds a little, right? Like if I pick up a guitar and that chord sounds, you tune it up and you intonate it, but the chord still sounds a little out sometimes. On the True Temperament, the chord sounded beautiful. In fact, I started playing chords I never played. A lot of times, a lot of musicians, which is fine, everybody's a critic, will tell you like, why do you use those traditional chords? Why don't you use these fancier chords? And I'm like, look, like everybody else, I have the book and I learn a bunch of chords and I'll use them. And you got to get used to your fingers playing these new chords. But the thing that happens to you next is they don't sound great sometimes. They sound weird. Your guitar just, they don't sound as, to me, they don't sound as pleasant. And again, it's a salted taste thing. It's everybody's preference. I really would love a True Temperament acoustic guitar. So I just got literally this morning, or maybe yesterday morning, but within the last 24 hours, a company reached out and said, hey, we want to send you one of 3 guitars. They gave me the choices, and one is another True Temperament. And there's a part of me, it's like, maybe I should do another True Temperament, especially this one because it's a more affordable or obtainable guitar. But no, I don't really want one. Although, there's a cool True Temperament on a Tele might be a cool thing. I just don't see myself using it. So if Stu Mac wants to send out a neck and, because I have bodies and stuff to do a video for you guys for illustration purposes, I'd be up for that. If it made sense. When I mean made sense is if I think there's a video there that you guys would be interested in, a lot of times, and not to go too sideways, but it's just important because I think sometimes, when we talk, you hear something without hearing the whole meaning of what I mean. When I say a video, I want you to understand, I don't think of videos in context of money or no money. This one makes money and this one doesn't make money. For the most part, none of them really make any money. It's very rare. Luckily, it is very rare, but it's not like impossible. So I do make money on videos, collectively, of course, but also big ones hit every once in a while, and those will carry the channel for weeks, if not months, which is great. But that's not when I say I'm interested in a video. The way I look at videos, the way I look at what I do as a content creator, if that's what you want to call what I do, is this analogy is my favorite analogy. It's like I'd spent all night cooking to bring something to the potluck, and I come to the potluck and nobody ate it. And I feel, so you understand, when you guys don't watch a video, look, it's my fault. When I make a video and nobody likes it, it's my fault, not your fault. But I want you to understand how I feel. It really eats at me. It kills my soul a little bit. Like, why? What did I make a mistake? What did I do? I thought it was engaging. I thought it was good. And then sometimes a video isn't as bad as that analogy. Sometimes the analogy is no one ate it. And then you go, hey, was anyone like some leftovers to take home? And they're like, no. And then you have to take all your, I'm going to say casserole. You got to bring all your casserole back home, and then you give it to the dog, and the dog doesn't eat it. And then you're like, holy crap, why did I even make this? What's wrong with me? So versus you go to get, maybe your piece of the food you made at the potluck, and it's all gone. Everybody ate it in the first hour. And you're like, whoa. And they're like, that was the best thing, Phil. It's a feeling thing. So if I think you guys will engage in a video, I think it's good. I think it's interesting. Maybe I'll learn something because that's important to me too, because it makes my life more enjoyable. lately and then I gotta get off this topic, but lately a lot of people are asking like, Phil, what's with all these high boutique amps? It's because, I love katanas. I love the inexpensive amps. I try to do as many of those on the channel as possible, but you gotta understand, sometimes after a while of thousands of pieces of gear, even I get like, I don't know, I'm looking for something interesting. So when somebody goes, hey, look at this exotic looking amp, I'm like, oh, let's learn about it. I'm curious. So that's my take on True Temperament. I tried it. It's cool. I don't think it's for me. And that solution, I would like it in an acoustic guitar solution. If I was ever offered to review an acoustic guitar with True Temperament, the answer is absolutely yes. I would absolutely do it as long as I could borrow it for a few months at least. So that's it. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next topic question. What do we got? We got Sun Tees Bean. I don't know. You put a Z in there, so that's all you get. It says, hey, Philip, I have an issue with my RevStar standard stainless steel frets. If I keep rubbing the strings on the fret during vibrato, I get this metal grinding sound. Can I email you a video? I don't need a video. That could be the type of string you're using with the fret. You understand stainless steel frets is different than nickel. First of all, the hardest thing about stainless steel frets is getting out all of the micro scratches in them. You'll hear some repair techs, luthiers say, stainless steel frets suck because they're never polished. They're never really polished smooth. And I used to believe that until I went to 2 factories that make guitars with stainless steel frets and saw how they were getting all of the scratches out of them. And by the way, secret answer, it's work. I mean, no, there's a little bit of a trick to it, but it's mostly just more work. It's a crap ton of polishing. Polish until you can't take it anymore, and then polish a little bit more. And you just kind of keep working them out. But more importantly, that's the main thing. There's some other techniques. But so it is possible, especially in a mass-produced instrument, especially if the instrument was made to be, mass-produced and, quickly. Sometimes they don't spend the time on the frets. Look, people talk about the quality of Suhr guitars. Let's talk about the quality of Suhr's frets. Suhr guitars, I think, are obviously beautiful made instruments. But one of the things that's really impressive about Suhr guitars is their frets, how well and how detailedly polished they are. Not leveled. Look, it's a $4,000 guitar. Of course, the frets are leveled. They'd be stupid if they weren't leveled, right? But they're very leveled, very polished, very, just very perfect. And my guess, which is just a good guess, is that the main reason Suhr's frets seem so much better than most other manufacturers' frets is because Suhr spends a good amount of time on the end. Now, how do I know that? I've talked to people who work at Suhr and worked for Suhr and now are happier to work for other companies where they don't have to polish frets as long. They were basically telling me, like, in one instance, somebody was telling me they spend half the time at their new job working for another high-end company than they did at Suhr doing fret work, polishing and getting the frets right. So Suhr spends a lot of time. So in your RevStar, I would imagine your frets just need to be heavily polished because, first of all, what you're talking about is this, during vibrato, you're getting a grinding sound. That could be that. Their other thing could be I don't know what I don't know is what string you're using. So if you're using a nickel string or a nickel plated string or wound round nickel string, you shouldn't be having this problem. But sometimes if you get into like the Solarium cobalts and all those weird type of strings, or maybe NYXLs or different harder material strings. Remember, now you're putting 2 hard materials next to each other. They don't necessarily work as well. So the reason I bring that up too is, remember, strings are a big part of this as well as frets. We talk about a thing because we talk about a subject. I feel like when I read the comments, people think like we're ignoring all the other 10 things that are important. It's like, no, we're just talking about this one thing. Talking about frets. Frets are not the end and the beginning and the end of everything. Okay. Strings are a huge part of this. I purposely will use nickel strings on my stainless steel fret guitars. I prefer them. I just like it better that way. And that's just how that works. Right. But but I might use more of a harder string with my nickel frets, even though that's unintuitive because a harder string obviously can wear into a nickel fret because the fret material is softer. Like an NYXL is a very, very hard material string. It could possibly chew into your frets a little easier than a nickel string or a pure nickel string into your nickel frets. But that's just over time, and obviously if you don't polish your frets and take care of things. But also, the other thing that can happen, unfortunately, with stainless steel frets that you need to worry about is you would need a magnifying glass to see this, but if you look at your string sometimes, if you actually physically look, like here's your string, long ways, right? And you look underneath it where it's touching the fret, you might see flat spots on the string where the stainless steel string is so hard, it's not going to lose, right? If you have a nickel string and a stainless steel fret, the fret wins. That's why we say they don't wear out as fast. They're going to win. It's two materials grinding against each other, right? And the harder material wins. So the stainless steel will wear flat spots on your string, and then when you're bending, you're going to hear it's literally what you can imagine. It's a flat, rough spot. You've lost the cylindrical part of the string, which is important for friction, right? You need the string to be round when you're pushing the string side to side on contacting it on the fret. So first thing I would suggest you do is change your strings if you haven't already done it. That's going to be my first tip before you send a video or try to do anything. That's the first thing I'm going to tell you because one, it's super cheap. If you think changing a type of strings is worth it, you can. I wouldn't, if you like your brand of strings and the type, I would just new set. If you're saying this is a brand new set, first, we could always take into consideration you got a bad set. That's possible. So maybe another set, but you don't have to really go crazy, right? But the other thing I would consider is, like I said, look at those options, look for flat spots, look for wear, and look for your frets. One of the things that's great, if you notice, is what I do when I do the fret test. Yeah, I use the nylon sock for the sides, but I'll use my fingernail and I'll just scrape across the fret from treble side to bass side, crosswise, right? Not up and down, obviously, across. And I'm feeling with my finger and my fingernail trying to catch any of those little scratches in the fret. And then you need to polish them out. I polish them out with steel wool. So quadruple aught steel wool would work great. I might go triple aught, then quadruple aught. You could use the micro mesh pads, all that stuff. But for stainless steel frets, I really like steel wool. One of the companies that, if you watch the Piezo factory tour, which is the only to date factory tour I've ever done that's unedited. In other words, they didn't ask me to remove anything or we didn't blur anything or anything like that. There's in the video, you'll see what it looks like a shoe polisher. You know, those things with two bristle brushes on each side and you put your shoe. For those of us old enough to remember when you used to wear shoes besides sneakers, you used to polish your shoe. They had one, if you watch that video closely, you'll see one in the background and it has steel wool instead of a brush. And they're running their frets on that. They're not just buffing them on the buffers like you see a lot of companies buffing the frets with a buffer. They're buffing with steel wool. And I thought that was interesting. You guys may not see it's interesting. Why it's interesting to me is 36 factories and shops I've seen ever, and I've only seen that one or two places. So it's not as common. And it was definitely, I didn't ask them, but it was definitely felt like that was something that they were like, oh, this is a good way to get the frets polished, the stainless steel. So those are things I would recommend. Let's pull a thing from Amanda. Amanda sent this. Says PK Weon? I'm going to do it. PK Weon. I don't know what it is, but that's what it is. It says, hey, Phil, what are some good aftermarket piezo saddles for electric guitar, and is it easy to install with someone with no experience with modifying instrument, love everything you do? Sure, you can get Ghost saddles and stuff from Graphtec. That's a good system, the Ghost system. What I don't know is what guitar you have. I've installed a few. I think one for myself once, and then a bunch for customers over the years. Never really found any difficulty into it. I would say it's up there with running electronics into a hollow body. It's not difficult. It's just not fast. You're not going to move fast. A lot of testing. You got to hook everything up, run all the wires through, find a way to get the wires there. that's important. So no, yeah, you can do it. And I would say that system is probably a good system. I'm not really hip on the newest model. So if there's somebody out there making a new aftermarket new thing, pretty cool. So, me personally, I don't love the way they sound. So it's always been a necessity thing. Like you want them, you need it. Not you want it, you need it. You're in a situation where like, I need an acoustic guitar. I need that switch on stage, and I can't, switch guitars or anything like that. I understand why you would want it. What I've kind of learned is that you can shove it in all kinds of guitars, but for some reason, certain guitars just sound really good, and certain guitars just never sound good with it. It's weird. And I always kind of liken that to the way the manufacturers, when they construct the guitar, if they have that system in mind, they kind of make some choices on the guitar that I think make that system sound a little better. That's just my thought. And I think mostly that's because when you have a transducer pickup on an acoustic guitar, whether, obviously the strings are touching the transducer essentially, and that is being sent out, and that's what the amp and the PAs are going to hear. I've kind of noticed that, I think because the top moves, there's a flex in the top and the strings. When you hit a chord, I find that for some reason, that acoustic sound sounds more accurate or truthful, like sounds more like a real acoustic. When you put it on a hard piece of wood, it just really it just doesn't have it. It's missing the part that I love. So like a hollow body PRS or a hollow body guitar like PRS or Schecter makes, or thin line acoustics, or even what the Acoustis Sonic or whatever that Fender's doing. For some reason, just having the guitar be able to flex a little bit, I think makes the strings act more like an acoustic guitar. So the sound coming out sounds more true to what an acoustic guitar sounds. Keeping in mind that even when using that transducer pickup on an acoustic guitar, it doesn't really sound exactly like an acoustic, right? Even that's hard to get the acoustic to sound right. But just my thoughts on that. But yeah, why not? Do it. You got an afternoon, right? You got a weekend. Have some fun. Most of it you should be able to, here's what I would consider. You should be able to install the system in an instrument, in most instruments, without making any permanent modifications to the guitar. So if you end up not liking it, you should be able to remove it all out and put it all back to normal, and without anybody seeing any actual heavy modifications. So that's something to think about if you can do that. All right. What else? Amanda sent this one. From Josh, it says, "Hey Phil, I'm writing an album and I'm thinking of getting an EVH Tom Wolfgang or an older Music Man to record with. Any thoughts or suggestions?" Yeah, the Wolfgangs, the Music Man, which is, I have one like the Axis, the necks are really small. Very small. Super small. Okay, so the PV Wolfgang and the EVH Wolfgang's necks are much different. A little wider on the nut, a little wider on the neck, a little deeper. And that sounds sometimes like, oh no, I don't like that. Just makes those necks regular necks, where the Axis is extra small neck. I don't know if it is the smallest neck in a production guitar, but it sure feels like it for an electric guitar. I don't know what's out there that's technically smaller feeling than that. So that's the main thing. Why do I have a Music Man Axis? Well, I have a Music Man Axis because I showed this magazine cover. Look at that. So obviously I've never put it back since the show. Since I showed you on the show, it's been just sitting here. Just the things that don't get done sometimes. So yeah, I wanted to have a purple one because of this ad. But why do I have an Axis? Well, because if you guys remember back when we lost Eddie and Eddie passed away, one of my buddies who is Larry DiMarzio, he and I had a heartfelt discussion. Like a lot of people, we, look, a lot of grown men were crying that day. It was a weird time. I think it was not only the loss of Eddie, because obviously losing Ozzy and all the artists we've lost since, it was the Eddie and the fact that it was just the world had been so crazy for a couple years. I think I had friends that literally fell down in their kitchen and cried. It hit me hard too for some reason. So obviously me and Larry had some bonding time, a couple hours on the phone talking about just the passing of Eddie. And as a gift, you guys remember, Larry sent me some actual photos he took of Eddie on stage with the Access Music Band that they worked on from that tour. And they were in black and white. That's how he shot it. He shot it on 35 millimeter film in black and white. And he did it, I don't know if I told you guys, he did it in black and white because he wanted really great shots of Eddie, and he didn't want to use a flash at the concert. So what he had was, I think Eddie's manager or a roadie or somebody was there next to Larry, and Larry was like, let me know when he jumps, let me know when he does certain things in the show. And they were telling Larry when he was going to do stuff. So that's why if you've ever seen my photo of Eddie, it's him midair, jumping with the guitar, and then Larry signed it and gave it to me. That's what's in my front room. So essentially, that's going to go in my front room next to it. That's kind of why I wanted that. But of course, I want to play it, and before it becomes my family room guitar that I'll play in there. But so I just want you to know what my reasoning for that guitar was. So it's more of a, I don't know, just an emotional thing for Eddie. Even though it's tough because think about this. I was at the Eddie Van Halen Wolfgang launch party, and I got to take pictures with Eddie and talk to Eddie. And I have those photos. So I thought, well, I can put a Wolfgang next to that. Maybe I should do that one day too. I don't know. But I don't know. For some reason, Larry sending me those photos just meant a lot to me. And my wife knew it too, because let me tell you, I'm not going to say they don't match the decor in the family room, but let's just say it's great that my family room has pictures of Eddie Van Halen. That's what's in my family room. That's all right. David says, David's got a good question on topic. He says, hey, why are we much more hung up over Van Halen's death than someone like Jeff Beck? I don't know the answer. So I've been very clear about this. I'm a very huge Eddie fan. Like everybody, he was an element in the Players, or he was he was an influence in the Players that have influenced me. I don't have any Eddie Van Halen direct influence. In other words, I've never purposely learned an Eddie Van Halen song in school or anything, really, like, you know what I mean? It's to me, I think, I look back because I never been that upset about someone who passed away. I mean, I've been upset, but not that upset. It was really weird. And I do think it was the time. I think it's just all of it. It was just a lot. It's kind of like, I think a lot of us it's just a lot. I look back to that time and I think that was a lot. And I think, although Jeff Beck, they're all amazing. So I'm not going to grade them in kind of like merit of what they're worth. That's just not what I'm going to do. But I will tell you that for me personally, Eddie is a chapter of time for me. Like, this is when this was Eddie. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. So, and I don't even know if I can. So, but yeah, I don't know why. But I do understand a lot of my friends who have been upset about a lot of their favorite guitar players passing, for some reason, were hit a little different than Eddie. And I was too. And I, like I said, to this day, don't know what that was. Why I did that. Why that was. Okay. So let's jump another topic. We got this one. Maybe. We'll know in a second. This comes from Seth. Seth says, hey, doing my first refret this weekend on an old beat-up Made in Mexico Strat neck, hoping to learn enough to have the confidence to do it on some of my nicer guitars. Sure. Why, worth buying an under $100 guitar for more practice? Yes, absolutely. Refretting, the process is not hard, but solving the problems of it gets really problematic. I mean, if it goes smooth, you'll notice it's like, refrets are like anything. You can pull the frets out, clean everything up, put in new frets, glue them, press them, polish them, level them, round them over, and then put the guitar back together and go, wow, that was not that difficult. And then until the day when one of the frets won't seat at all, and you got to rethink this whole process, because you got to do all kinds of crazy problem fixing, or you have a really bad chip out one day. That happens. So Do you have to do lots of them? No, but I would do more. Sure, why not? Yeah, and go get yourself a $100 guitar and practice on it for sure. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And what's great about that is I've had lots, and I mean lots, Seth, lots of people, viewers of this show have told me that they have refretted guitars and practiced, basically go buy some junker guitars. Trust me, a music store's got tons of them. Go find your local mom and pop store. They're sitting on a bunch of $100 boat anchors they'd love to get rid of to you. You buy them up, you buy 2 or 3. I'd buy 2 or 3 because you maybe get a deal. Hey, if I buy 3 of these junker guitars or whatever, buy one, maybe buy one at a time. And you fix them up and then you donate them. And that's it. And it's just the best thing you can do. And I 100%. What a way to get. You cannot buy that skill any cheaper than that. And you're doing something for the community, which is fantastic. Mike says, hey, new amp day, 64 Princeton Reverb hand wired. I have that amp. It's a beautiful amp. I waited a long time, but it was worth the wait. I now understand that all the hype. I see why you have kept yours all these years. Yes. I love the Princetons. And I've said this before. My 68 reissue Princeton, my 64 hand wired, which is what I'm down to at this point, those two. And the main reason is I have the Morgan PR12. I don't know why I can't remember that, but I always have to look at it. It's right next to me. And those are my 3 Princetons. Okay. So I have the 68 now is converted to a head. So I can run that as a Princeton into whatever amp I want. I have the 64 pristine. In other words, like the 64 stays the way it is. Original speaker, everything, the way Fender built it. And then I have the PR12, which is the Morgan's version of a Princeton. And I don't know what it is about Princetons. I just love the way they feel and sound at low volumes. They do everything for me. And somebody even asked me once here on the channel, like, oh, compared it to 65 Deluxe or anything else. And I always go, oh, that stuff sounds better. Like if I A/B the Princeton to certain other amps, the other amps always win, except for when I'm playing the Princeton just by itself, not comparing it, and I'm trying to keep the volume relatively low. And for me, it's not about distortion. I don't even care about that stuff. Overdrive, to me, it's about the clean sound. And what I like in clean is when I strum a chord, I like to feel some kind of movement, percussiveness, and feel compression, something happening. And the Princeton does that for me. And absolutely love it. I have done tests over the years, so you guys know, of taking other amps that are not so much a Princeton, but running them through maybe like a 110-inch speaker cabinet to see how much of the magic is the 10-inch speaker. And not a lot of it. It's some, but most of the magic is just the Princeton. And yeah, it's kind of a really beautiful amplifier. And I'll always have a Princeton. I just can't imagine a world where I don't. So it's the only amp, I believe, maybe except for my Mesa Boogie Mark 525. It's the only amp I believe I've had since the very first day I started this channel. I still have. So 10 years. I've had my Princeton, 68 Princeton for 10 years. My 64 for about 2, maybe 3. But before the 64, I had a 65. And same thing. Had that for 5, 6 years. There's just something about it. Let's hop around. Let's see what you guys got. What do I need? Martin, this came from Amanda. Martin says, hey, Phil, have you ever tried or have an opinion on Fret King guitars? So Fret King guitars I believe are made in Korea in the Mir factory, Trev Wilkinson's brand, I believe. And I don't know if they're going out of business. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard, but I guess Vintage Guitars is closing at the end of the year. Now, again, things change, okay? This was, I'll just tell you, I saw a Rob Chapman reaction video to it. Rob Chapman made a video, this is a month or 2 ago, saying that the people at Vintage Guitars, and I believe their distributor and everything's connected to Fret King, so I got the impression the 2 brands were, they're not going out of business as a bankruptcy. They are going to attrition out. In other words, as they sell out their inventory, they don't replenish, and then they're hopefully going to dissolve by the end of the year. And this was my take on what he stated, and what I've seen since is this is another one of those cases where we have a lot of this, guys. There's a lot of this coming our way, which is a lot of people in the industry with no successorship. Successorship? Say that twice as fast. A lot of it. Lots of it. When I talk to people in the industry that I respect that are in their 70s, because that's really the start of it. The start is like they're in their 70s. And they're usually thinking, like maybe I'll start dipping out in 10 years or whatever. And when I talk to them, most of them have no successorship. No, shit. I don't think any of them have it. I'm saying most. They're maybe 9 out of 10. I think it's 10 out of 10. I don't know. Think about this. In most cases, if they did, that person would already be doing the company. So I think we're going to see a lot. And I'm not saying 100% because I'm not 100% informed in this. Like I said, I didn't investigate the vintage thing. I just kind of heard what happened and went, oh, okay, that makes sense. And have great respect for Trev. I tried to buy some of their guitars. I met them at a NAMM show. I think I've told the story, so it's self-serving to me because I was walking the NAMM show. It was 2017, I want to say. So it was early in the YouTube career, and before I even knew there was a thing like hey, this is a job. Trev Wilkinson stopped me and said, hey, you're the only, I can't remember exactly. He said something to the fact like, you're the only person on YouTube who knows what they're talking about. It was really funny, right? I was like, oh, wow. Like, first I was like, you know who I am? And also, what? No. And it was really obviously flattering, right? I was very flattered. And we talked and he invited me. He's like, yeah, you ever in England, come to my apartment. I think he was telling me he has Jimi Hendrix's car. Like I said, he said a lot of stuff. It was crazy. It was a really cool time. My buddy Thor was with me. We talked to him, and then he introduced me to the person that I guess runs U.S. distribution. And I said, yeah, I'd love to buy some Fret King guitars and do videos. And he's like, okay. And then I gave him my information and I emailed him, and I never heard from them again. So I tried to get them on the channel. I tried to buy them. And nothing happened. But yeah, my guess is that's going away. Now, of course, here's the things that could happen. Somebody could buy it. It's a brand. And that's an easy brand to buy because it's just OEM somewhere else. So it's not like you have to buy the equipment or anything. You would just be buying the licensing, not the licensing, but yeah, the IP. You would buy the IP, the designs, the trademark, I would imagine. And then you'd have to figure out distribution for yourself. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe if there's 1,000 of you, maybe a bunch of you get together and why don't you round up some money and reach out to Vintage and buy Fret King if they're selling it. I'll do a video for free for you guys. You guys, here's my deal. You guys buy Fret King and I will do a video for you for free. So there, but yeah, don't know anything besides that. By my kind of estimates, I think we're going to lose about a dozen guitar companies and amp companies this year. So one a month. And that's been about what we've been losing if you think about it from either announcements or what I know are pre-announcements, which means I've heard something, but they're not telling you guys yet. We'll lose one big company, or not big, but we're going to lose a brand that you'll know of once a month. And that's just how this works. Again, in Vintage case, I really do believe it was, what I said, that they're just done. Right? Want to take their money and go on the beach. Maybe that's what people do when they get money. You go to the beach. That's what I always been told. Yeah. So Kennedy says we only really need Fender anyways. Yeah. This face is the face thinking about Fender with no competition. So a Strat would be $11,000 made in Indonesia, and an American-made Strat would be just less than a Toyota Tundra fully loaded. I'm convinced Fender doesn't make a decision anymore, that it's not a physical financial decision at all. And I love Fender. They're still my favorite guitars. They'll always be. It's my favorite logo. It's my favorite vibe. I think it's because it's the California vibe, but it's the romantic 50s, 60s California vibe. That's why it appeals to me. Some people live this and love it. Some people live this time and hated it. I didn't live it, obviously. I just look at it and it just pulls me into oh man, surf music and wow, rock and roll and blues and, just, I don't know. And so there's just something I love about Fender, but man, that's it. That's all I want to say. I don't want to go any more about it. I'm hoping, Fender to me, since I've been a Fender dealer, I've been a Fender fan, I've worked with Fender as a YouTuber even, I'm waiting for the next iteration of Fender to come. I'm hoping it comes soon. So that's what happens. Fender to me changes every 5 to 6 years. They become a different Fender. And that's just how I can only explain it. It's like all of a sudden they're like, oh man, they're doing really cool stuff. Oh man, they're really cashing in. Oh wow, right? It's just, I don't know how it works. Somebody said Gidget. Yeah, Gidget. Oh, that's the stuff I grew up on, watching all those reruns of that stuff. So, all right. Dirt Racer says $1,800 for a new Fender Deluxe Reverb. He says get bent. It's tough, man. It's tough. Dirt Racer, think about this. I paid $350 for my 65 Deluxe Reverb in 2016. Had to be 16. Couldn't be 17. So 2016. In 2016, I bought that for $350 with a British Green Celestion in it. Used. Yep. That's a real tough one to put your head around sometimes. And that wasn't like oh my goodness, I stole it. That was I'll take it at that price. That's what that was. In fact, that's how I ended up with it. It was just like somebody was selling it. I've told this story before. It was a friend and a customer of mine named Eddie, and he had bought, I thought, a Gretsch. He got a Gretsch on Craigslist, and it was a package deal with that amp, and he just made a deal and got that amp. He got the amp for like basically free, right? Like he'll buy the Gretsch, but throw in this amp. And then he's like, what do you think the amp's worth? And I'm like, oh, I mean, I at the time in the store, we had two just sitting. No one wanted them. Used. I go, I got one or two. I got one in display new, one in the back new, two used. It's not really worth anything to me. I said, and he's like, yeah, I put on Craigslist for $5 and no takers. And I go, yeah. I said, I'd give you $350. And he's like, I'll take it. I'm like, sweet, I'll take it because I'll literally keep it. And then I've had it since then. So for $350, I love it. And those days are gone. I don't know. Yeah, Just Fine said I paid $700 for my 68 Princeton used. Sure. Yep. Different times, I guess. It's like, I feel like we're talking about it like decades. Okay. So this one is from Boving 10 Bertai. I like doing this, by the way. You guys are like, I just love it. It says, Dear Phil, in 2000, at a gig, a guy came up to me, complimented my playing, and told me my guitars were all inferior to his. Oh, well, okay. He had a Moonstone. Is it possible there's two Moon Pie guys as I am in England? That's funny. I don't know. I mean, I know there's multiple Moonstones out there, so it's possible. I don't know what that is. I've never had that in my brain. Like, I've never watched a musician on stage. I'll tell you what's funny. I've never seen a musician on stage who played like ass but had great gear and was jealous of them. Never. Not once. Ever. I think it's the same reason I don't get jealous of somebody when they have like a really fancy car and I go, oh, look at that car. I really don't think that way. But I have been very jealous of players who play well, period, much less on cheap gear. Oh, it eats at my soul. Just kills me, right? It's like when you're trying to run your fat ass up a hill and then somebody runs right by you wearing like golfing shoes and you're like, what the hell? Right? Or sandals, right? You're like, you're in sandals, you're beating, I don't know, like that. There's like, really? So same thing. I when I see a musician and they're just killing it and they have, cheap gear, whatever you want to call it, I always go, man. But on a side note, I must say this because it's absolutely true. I also do feel very sad sometimes when I see someone who plays really well and their sound is ass. And it is actually a very painful feeling. It physically hurts a little bit. Like, and I know you guys have seen this. It happens in different ways. You can be you watch somebody on stage, they're killing it. They play great. They sound amazing. But the tone is either like a can of bees, or it's just not very good, or it doesn't sound right, or it's feeding back in the wrong spots and the wrong tones. It's just not really great. Or it's just buried in the mix and you can tell they just can't cut through because they don't have the right tone or a good tone for cutting through, right? And when I say good tone, I don't mean like tone the way you guys think. Like, it's just not cutting through and it doesn't sound very, very good. And it physically hurts to see that. Like, oh man, it's almost like opportunity lost, because instead of enjoying their playing, I'm thinking about these shortcomings, which are really not necessarily their fault. And in most cases, it's not an expense thing. Like, man, if they just bought some nicer gear, it's usually like, they just learned to tweak that amp a little bit, And I know that's the truth because I think the Boss Katana is a great litmus test as an amplifier. I think that if you take a Boss Katana and we've all seen this. I've seen it, so I know you guys have seen it. You see somebody on stage with a Boss Katana, and the tone is amazing, and they're killing it. And you're like, wow, I guess you don't need this stuff, right? And you're like, wow. And then you hear somebody with a Boss Katana, and it sounds like ass. And then you're thinking, wow, how different learning to just adjust controls on the amp really does help. Learning where the bass player and the drummer is in the mix and just figuring out, right? Figuring out where this amp sounds great and where it stops sounding great. And, that's why I think it's a great amp for testing that stuff. I think, it's almost like, it's like when you're, I guess when your parents say, hey, you should learn to drive on a stick shift. Although this is a funny story. I was told I was supposed to learn how to drive on a stick shift. Because if I didn't, I don't know, whatever. There was some kind of logic to this. Like, oh man, what are you going to do if you can't drive a stick shift? And so I had to learn to drive stick shift. And which now I've just really chummed up. What really just come to consider is just we were poor. This is what we had. You're going to drive a stick shift. Why? Because it's better for you. And ironically, it's what we have. So anyways, I learned to drive on a stick shift. Then when I joined the Army, I was a mechanic. The funniest thing, I'm like, wow, thank goodness I won't be embarrassed in the Army that I don't know how to drive a stick shift because I know how to drive a stick shift. And you get the Army and you get the AIT and the Army doesn't have stick shifts anymore. None. For those of you that were in the service a long time ago, let me explain something to you because you're like, what? Yeah, none. Every vehicle. None. Everything's automatic transmission. Everything. The entire fleet we maintained was automatic transmissions. So no stick shifts. That's so there you go. That usually shocks some of my older Army buddies. They're like, what? Yeah, that's just how it was. So didn't help me there. Okay. We've kind of gone off the rails again, which is a good time to center us back to... It's Guitar of the Week time. I really didn't plan on Guitar of the Week this week really, really well. I'm just going to be upfront with that. No reason. I have no real good reason. I'd like to tell you something, but I don't have one. So instead of an excuse, I'm going to share a guitar with you. What guitar am I going to share with you? A guitar I decided to share with you. So... it's a Kiesel. So it's a Washburn N4. Now I know what you're thinking, like, I've seen his N4s. Well, you have. You saw my Paduke and you saw my Swirl, but you never saw this particular one, which is my favorite of them. In fact, if I only have one N4 that isn't spin around, isn't trapped up on a cable. Ow, I'm totally trapped up on this cable. Okay, if I only have one N4 forever, it'll be this one. There is nothing, and this is why I thought maybe it's a fun video, or fun for the video. There's nothing redeemable about this guitar. Nothing. First of all, the two blocks are totally mismatched. Look how horrible. Look from the back. Look at that. Look at this block. This is American craftsmanship. This is I don't give a shit. Right? Hey, I got a body blank. This color is a different, look, this color, there's no finish on this guitar. So it's not like they thought this was going to be, can we just put the side camera so you can see even funnier how this is? Look at this. This is dark. This is light. This. Okay, you know what I know about this guitar? If this guitar was on Sesame Street, I'd be like, one of these things is not like the other. Because they're not. This is a totally different color wood than this. This guitar, this guitar was probably, the year it came out was probably $1,599, $1,600. Okay, so this is a 1995 N4. So this is when they're still building them in Illinois. And so $1,600 in 95. I don't know. Somebody out there put with inflation. What's $1,600 in today's money? What is this guitar now? I think now they sell for 25. So maybe it's 25. So that's the funny thing. The second thing that's funny about it is this neck's wrong. This neck isn't even close to the correct shape and thickness of what the Nuno is supposed to be. This is like they ran the neck through the CNC machine, and then the guy who was supposed to sand that day went, my hands hurt. and so this neck is super chunky. But hey, look at this. You're not going to believe this because you've seen the Badoo one. Look at that. You can't even see the nut. It's almost like, what? It's almost like it's put in correctly. So there's that. Do you see how the maple neck is different colors too? This is where the scarf joint is. It's like, yep, that's good. Okay, so that's it. Other than that, it's a typical Nuno N4. It does have the German Floyd that does say Washburn, so they put Washburn on their German Floyds. This is a Schaller, the original Bill Lawrence, the 59 Seymour Duncan pickup, and of course the Davies system, which is the bolt from the side, so you can get up there and play like Nuno, which I can't do. So what's funny is, so the neck's chunky, it looks like ass, but it's magical. It's absolutely magical. And I'm pretty sure, by the way, everything on this guitar is original. And I don't know why, but it has the wrong volume knob. The volume, I'll show you. It's a linear potentiometer, which is not what they put in the Nunos that I know of. So it has here, I'll show you. I'll turn it on. It has on and off. So there's off and on, and then no more travel. Look at that. So 90% is just a linear pot. 80% of the travel, nothing happens, and then off. So you can't clean up the guitar with it on the amp. It's just on. It's rock. It's rock, and then that's it. Then turn it off. That's it. So I love this guitar. So what am I running through? I'm running through the Magnetone. This is the Super 15. If you guys watched my video this week, I did a comparison because you asked me to of the Magnetone versus the M80 Baby M80. And I'm running some delay and reverb from my NuX Atlantic pedal. And I have a drum machine. So I have a Beat Buddy pedal that I've been messing with. Beat Buddy pedal. And then I was messing with it today. And then I forgot what I was going to play. So I'm going to do my best, guys. Let's just play around. Okay? Let's side cam. I'll move my cup. Look at that. Like a professional, maybe. Let's get that thing going here. And I'm going to just make up some stuff. I'm going to play and make up a riff. And we'll see where it goes, okay? And I'll let you hear the bridge and then the neck. And you can hear the guitar. So we'll do that. Let's go ahead and start. Look at that. That's just you. Wait. just want to make sure the drummer got it all out of his system. He did. This is why the Beat Buddy's cool. It's like having a real drummer. You can be like, knock it off. We're going to practice now. All right, ready? Here we go. Somebody said it's clipping hard. Let's back that off. Okay, watch this. We can fix that in real time. It's a live show, everybody. Okay, let's take a look. And, oh, interesting enough, it shouldn't be clipping hard because that's ready. Let me double check. Oh, hold on. Side cam. And I'm going to fix the clipping right now. We won't go through all that again, don't worry. But this will be better. Okay, let's try it now. Here we go. Not the same thing, but just a little bit of the guitar, unclipped. Here we go. Okay, so the neck pickup obviously is going to sound really big. The thing with the Nunos, if you don't know, is this Bill Lawrence pickup is very bright. So it has a really bright attack, which is why sometimes when you play these guitars, they don't sound very pleasing, at least not to me, in the bridge, until you get bass and drums. You get something to fill up all those frequencies, because this is all in the high frequencies, but the attack is fantastic. So... But that neck pickup, all right. So that is the guitar of the week. You've now seen all my Nunos. That sounded naughty. You've seen all my Nunos. So now we all can be friends. Who can't be friends after you've seen somebody's Nunos? All their Nunos. But this is my favorite Nuno, for sure. Like, if I only keep one, this is the one. The funny thing about this, and I thought this would be a cool, I love when Guitar of the Week is a conversation and interesting. And I'll explain, Derek, why there's no strap buttons in a second. I'll explain. He'll get there. So here's the thing that is interesting about this guitar, and I'm curious to see if anyone ever had this experience, because it's a unique one. The neck on this is really chunky, to the point where every time I pick up this guitar and I play it, as soon as I play the first chord or play anything on it, in the first few seconds, I go, ugh, I hate this. Well, I gotta get rid of this damn thing. I hate it. It's just so chunky. And then just like anybody, you play it. After maybe 20 seconds, I'm like, so amazing. Just sounds and plays. Every note rings. The action is so low. The fretboard, everything feels fantastic. But it's weird to me. I've never had an experience with this guitar that didn't start with, I hate this. I've never picked it up and just started playing. My first reaction is always, even if I put it down, like if I put it down and then I go to the rest of the show, at the end of the show, if I pick this up again, at the end of the show, I'm going to be like, ugh. I'm like, why is this so, it's fine. It's fine. But like I said, playing it, I love it. And so it's really weird to have that experience every time. So that's why. So Derek's question was, why are there no straps? It's because I put strap locks on it. I took the strap locks off this guitar because this neck was so chunky that I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. So since I have the Nuno Swirl, I came with this great idea, which is where you waste an entire afternoon of crap, which is what I did. I took the Nuno neck off the other Nuno. I'm going to do this on purpose, by the way. And put that Nuno neck on this Nuno and took this Nuno neck off that. And guess what? The damn neck pockets don't fit. So I thought, well, what if I put the other Nuno neck on this guitar? I'll get the magic of the tone of this thing. And I'd love to tell you that they didn't sound the same anymore, but it's not even about that. The neck doesn't even line up. The other neck stuck out about till here. Stuck out. It didn't even fit in this pocket. And this one wouldn't fit on the other Nuno. And the other one's like a 98. So they were made in the same shop. Their specs are so loose at Washburn. The decks don't interchange. They just obviously run different CNC machines and different things. And just the inconsistency of the Nuno guitars has been quite humorous. It is one of the most inconsistent instruments I've ever come across. By the way, this one, just so you know, this one, which I hope it illustrates this. You see where this is bolted on? See where this is right here? Okay, let's go to the side camera. Okay, you see this? See the bolt on right here? Okay, see this part? This is where the end. If I take a pick, whee, it stops. Right there. Because this neck is sticking out. Just a little bit. And I'm pretty sure I can stick a pick in there. In that crack. It doesn't look like I can, but I can. Trust me. Maybe not this big, but you can stick a pick in there. That's how big that gap is. But yeah, look at that. Especially if you do this way. Look at that. Yeah. So I don't own Nunos for the quality. I own Nunos because Nuno is amazing. And so I just love his guitars and I like them. And that's enough. I told you. Not every decision I make is a good one or a smart one. It's just the one that makes me happy. And I think maybe that's the smart decision. Look, you gotta be happy. So that's, I gotta put the strap back on. That's all. I have a black DiMarzio strap lock for it. And I just haven't put it on. So that's the guitar of the week. Sorry that it was maxed out. It's because I want to try something new. So I wanted to stop, instead of using a backing track, which I've been using, I wanted to go to the Beat Buddy system. If you guys don't know what the Beat Buddy is, it's a drum machine pedal, if you haven't checked it out, and try to use that as the guitar of the week backing track, just to have a drum track, to work something out. And obviously, I made choices today, and those choices obviously made the system clip. I thought I recorded it, but now I'm wondering if when I changed to the side camera, I use Blackmagic as the software. So when I'm changing cameras, right, it's called scene selections. Each time I select a camera or a website or whatever I'm selecting, it selects not only video but audio signal. Apparently, I already know because I fixed it. The audio for that is boosted. So in other words, for me, I have it boosted, so you guys can hear me. And then on the guitar camera, when I'm switching cameras, I'm also switching audio, and it's dampening the guitar because it's so loud. And I did not have the dampening on. I had it boosted. So just so you know. Okay, David wants to know, will you put a 500K audio taper pot in it? Eventually, yes, because that thing drives me nuts. Because that guitar to me is about, playing dirty and then cleaning it up with the volume, because it's one volume, no tone. So yeah, I'll swap that out. I have tons of them. I'll probably use a Bourne's 500K potentiometer and stick it in there, an audio taper pot. And yep. So yes. But and like I said, I thought maybe maybe somebody did that. And I looked, and no, you can tell it was original because you can see the original wiring, the soldering. You can tell no one's changed anything in the guitar. Everything's original on the guitar. All right. Okay. That's the guitar of the week. Let's go to something new. Let's see what Amanda was collecting up for me while I was playing guitar. Let's see. Okay, let's do this one. Okay, Dr. Frankenstein. Dr. Frankenstein says, can someone clarify? By the way, I sang your name just because I'm so excited I can actually read a freaking name. Dr. Frankenstein says, can someone clarify if Epiphone Les Pauls have a maple cap or is it just a thin veneer? The answer is yes. Now I'll tell you why that's yes. The answer is yes to both. Most, meaning the majority of Epiphone Les Pauls, barring the really inexpensive solid mahogany models, which will probably be disclosed as one piece, not one piece, but no cap on the guitar. Other than those, they will all have a 1/4 inch maple cap. It's a real piece of maple that is capped onto the mahogany body. And then there'll be a flamed maple veneer put on the top or a maple veneer. So in other words, even if it doesn't look flamed, maybe they just put a veneer on it. They'll put a maple veneer over the top. So the answer is yes. That is very typical overseas. Overseas manufacturing, it's probably the most typical you're going to see. It's just because it's very easy to do that. They use a maple cap and then they put a maple veneer on it. When you see, I have 2 videos that are, by the way, this week, if you notice, there was no deep dives and nothing like that. It's because I'm really spinning. I have so much editing time. That's all I've been doing is editing because I have the Court video coming to you guys. I have a PRS SE video coming to you of the factory, a PRS SE factory video coming to you. And I have the interview with Mike Klim at Sweetwater. And all of these have to be created and then sent to those companies to make sure that nothing is being shown or disclosed that was not agreed upon. So you understand. Obviously, that's the whole reason I get access to that. Again, just to point out, no one's ever been given this much access ever to these facilities. I'm the first one. And I still can't tell you why. I had a friend ask me the other day, literally, so why did they let you do this? I have no idea. I have some theories, but I don't know for sure. They just let me do what I want, go where I want, see what I want. I filmed everything. By the way, I'd like to point out, I filmed almost 100% of the entire trip. I have 7 hours of total footage from the Cortec factory. So I filmed a lot. So obviously I'm working that. So what I'm basically telling you is in there is a great section about veneers and why they use veneers and what veneers look and how they buy the veneers. It's really, really cool. These will be really interesting videos. And that particular piece, which is cool, is a lot of you guys have been asking, like, how was the trip? How was the trip? I'm a little cautious to talk about it because I would really hate to say something to you guys and then not show you. So let me explain this real quick, just so you guys understand. I'm not barred technically from saying anything to you guys. So in other words, like when you guys ask questions about the factories and stuff, I can tell you a lot. There's just certain stuff I'm not allowed to show you. So I don't really want to talk about it until after I've showed you everything. Then if you have some questions that weren't shown, maybe there is topics there for me to talk about, why they do things or why certain policies are a certain way or why things happen. But yeah, and those vids will be hopefully very soon. The PRS one, just so you guys know, that's not going to be until October. So let's just get that out there right now. I did a video of the PRS SE factory, and especially when you see the Cortec factory, that statement, the way I'm saying, it's going to make a lot of sense in a second. But the problem with the PRS SE factory, I just want to be very clear, is that there's almost no scenes in that. There's almost nothing in that video I can show you at all until at least fourth quarter. And that's if, and this is where the bad news is, guys, if they decide not to release some of those guitars that are in those factories right now, then that video is postponed to whenever those videos come out. But let's just say there's a lot of guitars coming out. There's a lot. So they probably don't want me to say that, but I don't think I'm getting too much fire for that. But fire heat from it. But yeah, there's a lot of new models and a lot of cool updates to the SEs coming. And so that was one of the cool things about being there. I was I just so happened to got to film the PRS SE factory as it was updating all of these new models. So totally new models, totally new concepts, really exciting stuff. And that was one of the concerns we had, we meaning them and me, when we were discussing before I got there. This is going to be a problem. You're going to be there, and then all this stuff you can't show until that stuff comes out. So I can tell you for a fact, PRS SE video is the fastest it's going to be out is in October, and that's the fastest. So I apologize. Cortec will come out as soon as they approve it, which is as soon as I have a final edit for them, and then whatever. And like I said, there's the only thing they're going to probably ask me to remove, which I don't think there's anything. I'm smart enough to know what they're sensitive about. And I can tell you exactly up front because I'm going to explain it in the video what they're sensitive about. It's all the brands they don't have permission to show. So you got to understand, some brands a lot of brands pay Cortec to build their instruments, and those brands, just for some whatever reason, which is their business, don't want us to know, even though we all know. My joke, I got a joke for you guys. It's like the brands are like, they're all wearing a toupee, and we all have to pretend that we don't know they're wearing a toupee. That's how I kind of felt like every time in the video. I'll get back to business, I promise. Every time in the video, they're like, you can't show that brand because they don't want people to know that we make it. I'm like, we know. I'm laughing because it was kind of funny. It was all the brands that don't want you to know. In fact, all the brands that don't want you to know, the brands that you absolutely already know. So I don't know. Okay, but who knows? It's their business. Again, I'm not here to talk about that more than I'm allowed to. Okay. All right. It's kind of funny. Let's go back to stuff we can actually talk about. Okay. Let's refresh this. Let's drink some water. Perfect timing. We're flowing. I think we're on time, kind of. Probably not. We have Michael. He says, making a purchase. Wonderland Overdrive V22. Okay, so he's talking about the 22 watt Wonderland Overdrive or the 50 watt for home studios use. What are the differences between the three speaker options? Okay, so let's go back there. So the 22 watt versus the 50. All of the Amplified Nation amps that I've reviewed, including the one that I have downstairs, which will be, I have one more Amplified Nation amp I'm going to be doing a video of. Taylor reached out and asked me if I was interested in checking out one. You guys can probably figure it out. I think it's like the only one or one of the only two that I haven't done a video of the amps have been 50 watters. Why? It's because I asked him, it depends on your thought process. My thought process is that if I go to a new restaurant I've never been to, I like to ask the staff, like, what would you eat if you were going to eat here? And first of all, and I don't trust anyone who says, oh, it's all good. I'm like, oh, I hate you. Either you're new or you're a liar. So I'm like, ah. So anyways, but I love it when somebody's like, in fact, one of my best experiences ever was at my favorite restaurant that I take everybody to when they come to town is one time I asked the waiter, like, what do you eat here? And he goes, oh, we eat something that's off the menu. It's just for employees. I'm like, what? And so I got it, and it was the most amazing thing ever. And so every time I go there, that's what I order. And every time I order it, I enjoy secretly, when I say it, the waiter or waitress, whenever I see it, they always smile like, ooh, he's in the know. They go, so it's kind of cool. But anyways, I asked Taylor what wattage is the best wattage of his amps? And he said 50 watts. And I was like, oh, I was thinking 50 watts too loud. I only need 22 watts. And he was saying he just thinks the sweet spot for the amps is 50 watts. And then, so I picked all 50 watters. So, Michael, that's the thought process. What I can tell you from the 50 watters, there's been no issues where I was like, oh man, it's just too loud. All of them have some kind of power switch in the back. And to be honest with you, most of them will do what you want them to do at a moderate level volume. And if it doesn't, you're going to have it through a attenuator, so 22 or 50 is not going to matter anyway. So just keep that for thoughts. On speakers, I have no idea what the speakers is. This is another discussion that I had with Taylor Cox. As you know, I've interviewed him twice about the amps. And I told him that I just really like creamback speakers, and he says him too. And I said, oh, great. Then I'll just use creamback. So what I have in all my amps are creamback speakers. That's what's in there now. I did have, I do have a 112 cabinet on order from Amplify Nation. This 212 is just huge sounding. I like it, but it's big. If you guys notice, I don't use it. I use it, but I don't use it all the time. It's because this cabinet is just a really powerfully big cabinet. I didn't know that the cabinet was going to sound so huge. I've usually used smaller amps into bigger cabinets and had great success with just lower volume, but sounding a little fuller. This thing just sounds beautiful, but enormous every time. So I ordered a 112 cabinet from Amplify Nation in the matching turquoise, which I call neon blue, because that's what I'm going to call it, because I like it. And I ordered it empty because I have a creamback to throw in there, and it saved me a little money because I already have a speaker, so why buy a speaker? I'd suggest creambacks, but it's just my preference of taste. So, and I didn't see on your question if you're getting a 112 or 212. If you're getting a 112, I prefer creambacks. If you're getting a 212, I actually prefer a creamback and a redback now, or two creambacks. The redback is a little brighter and clearer than the creambacks, and I think it sounds really good when mixed with them. That's a good combination that I'm enjoying. Okay, Tom. Tom says, happy Friday, Phil. I'm looking for an EQ pedal. Okay. And I'm a big fan of the Boss products. Okay, sounds like you found one, buddy. I was wondering if you have any experience with the Boss GE7. Yep, compared to the Analog Mag version. Nope. I did a video with Tim Pierce on his channel, just type Film Ignite Tim Pierce, it comes up. It got like a gazillion views, right? Like 700,000 views. It's me and Tim Pierce talking about our absolute favorite pedal in the world, which is the Boss GE7, because it's like the problem-solving pedal. That video was great because it was like literally Tim Pierce reached out to me one day. We were talking, and he was like, hey, you want to come on my channel and do a video? And I was like, yeah, but it's a little tough when you do crossover videos with people when they're not the same. So like, oh yeah, me and Tim are both guitar fanatics, but I mean, he's a talented Grammy, awesome musician, and I'm just this turd in a bedroom talking on YouTube about gear. So you're like, how do you have a conversation that's interesting to the audience? You can't have any kind of like, and so what's funny was I said, hey, I have an idea for a video. I think the Boss GE7 is like the greatest problem-solving product ever. And he was like, ironically, I do too. And we're like, oh, cool. And we found that common ground. We made that video. He did tell me, I think in the video, but if not in the video, it's off the air or whatever when we're off. He did tell me he likes the modified G7 way better. I went and looked at them, but it was shortly after doing that video was COVID, and then it was like prices were just too crazy for me, and I'm not spending $200-300 for those things. But I think now the prices have come back to a reasonable price, comparatively speaking. Reasonable meaning not that price anymore. So I have the Boss G7. I've heard nothing but great things about the modified ones. I plan to eventually get a modified one. This is going to probably prompt me, except for I don't really want to bid against you right now. If there's one or two out there used, I don't want to be like, I'm going to get it before you do, Tom. In fact, Tom, while I'm answering your question, I'm on reverb right now. No, just kidding. So, but yeah, so I think the modified one doesn't seem like a bad idea. Look, Tim Pierce said to get the modified one. That's all you need to know, man. That's the answer right there. Parker says, I bought a used guitar with Lambertone Crema pickups. Oh, interesting. What's your opinion of them? Never heard of them. There's so many pickup companies, right? It's just a forever thing. It's like guitar companies, really pickup companies and pedal companies are where it gets like bazillions of them. Because the barrier to entry is so low. That's really what it is. If you think about it, the barrier to entry to build a guitar is really low. Most people can do it out of their garage. So, I mean, it's not like you can build an iPhone out of your garage. So if you're going to go compete with, Apple, you're going to need probably a little bit more than just maybe some garage tools. But you could build a guitar and you could be a guitar company out of a garage. That's the barrier to entry is very, very, very cheap. Most of the tools are standardized tools that you would already have, or you could get at the Harbor Freight, or you could get at a yard sale, even better. And same thing with pickups. Tools are very basic. Skills are pretty much on YouTube, where you can just watch that information and start yourself down that road. So your barrier to entry is no official schooling needed, no official training needed. Really just I hope just be safe, obviously, guys. And then pedals are the same thing, right? I mean, a soldering iron, maybe a mask at first, so you don't breathe in all that solder smoke. So there's going to be a lot of those companies, and it gets forever into that category, but it's not a pickup company I'm familiar with. What I will tell you, Parker, is that we do have the Know Your Gear channel. So if you guys don't understand, this channel has never been the Know Your Gear channel. Most people don't know that. It's always been the Phil McKnight channel. I just said Know Your Gear. In fact, funny little tidbit that most people don't know, you'd have to be a diehard fan to know, that I never even showed Know Your Gear until I said it at the end of the show. And then people kept saying, I'm introduced to this. Well, now it makes sense because I put it at the beginning of the videos now. But forever, I never said it or showed that logo until after the end of the video. And then people go from the Know Your Gear channel. And so very long, when I say long story, it was a very long discussion thing. We talked about changing the name of this channel to the Know Your Gear channel. This was something we discussed for a long time. And I just decided, I'll just be honest. Here's what happened. When we looked in Google and we looked in YouTube, my name, Philip McKnight, was searched 30% more than Know Your Gear was searched. So the concern was, well, why would you change the name of a channel to something that's searched less on YouTube? That is a very bad business decision. So, but I really wanted to have a Know Your Gear channel. So we created the second channel, and the intent of that was always to be the Know Your Gear channel. That's what we already knew what we were doing, okay? At first, we call it Phil McKnight 2 because we were just trying to get it monetized. You have to get so many hours consumed and so many subscribers and get it monetized, because obviously, once it's monetized, you can start throwing a lot of work and time after it. So the second channel is now called Know Your Gear. Know Your Gear, that channel is where we put the pod clips, because that way the people that don't want to watch the videos and maybe don't understand timestamps, which happens every week. 11 comments last week, guys, on 2 hours to find out why stainless steel. It's like, it's timestamped. I don't understand. I timestamp it. I put timestamps in the notes. You just go to the timestamp. You don't even have to skip 20-minute crap of me talking about an ad. Like, I can't even watch a podcast now where I watch and then they start going into an ad. Not the YouTube ads, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, today I want to talk about shaving your balls, and this company helps you do that. And then you talk about that for 3 minutes. But anyways, my point is, the second channel is also where we can now do something that we never had the ability to do, which is pretty much do any kind of smaller company. And this is problematic because companies don't understand. And let me just tell you what happened to us and most recent that will make a ton of sense. We had a company sponsor a video, okay? They were very determined. They were like, hey, we want you to do a video. We're going to sponsor it. I said, okay. So sponsor so to me means they're going to compensate us in some way, like some kind of payment. So we're like, okay, that's great, right? It's great. Those sponsored videos definitely pay the bills. Like I said, I told you guys, I have no video. Even though I have videos, 3 million views, I have no video that's ever paid me what a sponsor will just pay you. You can't make as much on YouTube as you can with a sponsor, which is why sponsorship is so prevalent in this environment. But I'm trying not, as always, I try to keep the sponsorships to a minimum. So anyways, they want to sponsor the video. We did the video. We were very upfront about everything that was going to happen. We did the video, and I just want to tell you something that's funny. They sold out a product in the first 2 hours of the video. The video got 9,000 views in the first 2 hours, and they sold out a product. I only know this because you figure it out when somebody comes to me and says, hey, Phil, did you see the last 5 comments? They're like, they're out of stock. They're out of stock. That's great, Phil, but they're out of stock. That video got 150,000 views. So 100, I don't know, do the math. 141,000 views was you guys watching something you can't even buy. Right? They didn't need 150,000 views, which is what we told them. So, that's why I'm getting to this. I actually told them to go to a smaller YouTube channel. They didn't want to. I'm like, go to a smaller channel. They'll 10,000 views. Get somebody who can get you 10,000 views. They'll sell out your product. Their audience will love it. It'll be great. Life will be awesome. You don't need 100,000 views if you don't have the product. So the second channel now does, I don't know what the average is. I think the average video is like 10 to 15,000 views per video is the average, or 10,000 views, which is perfect. And that's probably what it's going to stay for a long time. By the way, thank you guys all, because the channel hit 25,000 subs on that second channel this week. So that's fantastic. But this is going to allow us to do exactly what I've been wanting to do for years, which is every time I have a product and I go, well, this is a fun video, but I don't think, the majority of the audience is going to be into this. Now we have a place to do those videos. So like I said, we can, so if we do get small companies, and also it will help me with time, because I don't talk to the companies now. Shauna does that. Just to give you guys an example, this isn't a big woe is me, but I just need you to understand what I'm going through. I just spent some time with a small builder in California, which was a big, huge waste of time. So they reached out, they wanted to do a video. I explained to them the process, which is we have to kind of vet the company, kind of figure out, how well, think of this. In this particular case, I actually found an ex-employee and talked to an ex-employee of theirs who was laid off by them. And they said what they all say, hey, we're a small company. We don't have a budget. You would just really be helping us. And I'm like, okay. So after I vetted them, what I came to the conclusion was they're, I'll say, legit to the most part. I guess maybe not, because maybe I didn't know. And I said, okay, so I got to that point and I said, let's go ahead. Let's have you build a guitar and you can send it to the channel. And then we'll do the video. And then a few months went by. And then they just randomly, I think 2 weeks ago, out of nowhere, just sent me an email saying, we're sorry, but we can't make your guitar. That's it. Now, I just want to let you guys know something. My thought process. If that's, I could say their name right now. I could be like, yeah, this company, as far as I know, they're going out of business. I don't know what's going on with them. But I'm trying to say is, I would imagine they're going to treat me, hopefully, as good as a customer, if not better, because I can, shine a light on their company and help them. But I'm just saying it's getting really hard to do that kind of stuff, to deal with these companies. So that's where I'm saying, so if you have I'm trying to tell you guys, if you have small builders and people you want to suggest, please email them to us. We'll vet them Shauna will vet them, and then we'll put them on the smaller channel so that it doesn't take up so much time and we don't have to spend so much time on this channel, because it really is, like I said, to be honest with you, it's not, I'm going to fix it next week, but there's two small other guitar builders I've been talking with. And because this builder just dropped out at the last minute after I went through all the trouble working with them, I haven't responded to the two other small builders. So right now, if you're one of those small builders that are wondering why I'm not emailing you back, it's because my thought process was I'm done with small builders. I'm done with people doing weird stuff. Like, I just don't know who these companies are. So I don't know. Maybe it's therapy time. Sorry, guys. I just did therapy. Let me get back to your guys' stuff. But again, keep the suggestions coming, because now we have two avenues to do stuff. Martin, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that very much. Elroy says, hey, Eloy. Oh, not Elroy. Please. Well, I should have read that first. Eloy. That's phonetics. That's how I got it. So I hope that's right too. I was able to buy a Servo 3. Oh yeah, the pedal. I love that pedal. And now I have the T15, looking for a complimentary guitar, thinking of a Squier Tornado. Oh, that's a great guitar. That would be a great guitar. You know what? That's a guitar. When you said that, I'm like, I think all the time of guitars that I could do videos, like when I do these these deep dives where I go back in time. The Squier Tornado is a guitar that I should just do a video of. I'm going to make a note of that. I might do that as a guitar for a video. I think that's a cool sleeper Squier guitar. The Tornado is a cool guitar. Thank you, Fire Medic, for the super chat. I appreciate that. Sam says, hey, I just can't do digital versus real amps. Really tried. Yeah, that's no problem. They said tips on what gain pedals work well with the JTM20. Okay, so we'll go back and forth with this. First of all, there's nothing wrong with you if you can't do digital. Nothing. Like, if you think digital sounds horrible, then it sounds horrible. The idea is no one should be able to tell you what sounds good or bad. You're the chef. You're the musician. It's your job. Even if you're a hobbyist, it's your job. That's part of this magic. It's to create. You're creating things. You're not just, I think hobbyists most so. I don't want to. The poor hobbyists get picked on the most, but they do, right? I've talked about this a lot. This industry is a kind of weird industry. It's one of the few industries I see where the hobbyists that support it, pretty much 90%, if not, they shit on them. I don't understand it. I've made sense of it. I understand why someone would say, hey man, only doctors and lawyers buy expensive guitars. I'm like, yeah, I get it, man. Stick it to the man. Like I've said, people make more than you can make fun of them. That's kind of how it works, right? You get to punch up. That's how it works, right? Rich people are assholes. Ha ha ha. It's kind of funny, right? If you said the other, it sounds mean and crazy, right? Poor people, what's their problem really, right? Like you understand what I'm saying. So what I think's funny about this, is that as a hobbyist, if you're doing the hobby right, which is most people are just saying, oh, all they're doing is buying guitars. No, they're trying things. They're experimenting, right? That's how it works. Like I said, I don't understand the logic. I don't know where this weird, and it's not a YouTube thing. By the way, I know the YouTube communities get a lot of crap and the Reddits and stuff for stuff. They didn't invent this stuff. I owned a music store. This is what the crap was talked about in the music store all the time. Not us. We never said that in our store. I was happy to take your money, no matter what your reasoning was. You're like, oh, you didn't play great, but you want to buy a $4,000 PRS? I'm like, well, you know what? Your card swiped perfectly. So good for you. Please enjoy your life. So here's my point. My point is if you were going to learn to become a chef and you bought all kinds of pots and pans and knives and everything and ingredients, and it was like, why are you buying, tilapia? Why? Well, I don't know, maybe that's not a good choice. Why are you buying sea bass? You don't even know how to eat sea bass. You're like, it's because I'm trying to experience it. It's about the experience. I want to make music. I buy a fuzz pedal because I want to make songs that were made with fuzz pedals. I want to experience music. Listening to music is the greatest thing that's ever happened in my life. I'm just telling you I'm going to give you my testimonial. And then after that, I wanted to experience every element of that. I wanted to know what it was like to write a song. I want to know what it's like to figure out how to record something. I want to know how to make a tone. I wanted to learn every aspect of this experience, even if I don't want to do it. Like I don't want to produce records, but I wanted to learn how to record a little bit. Again, you want to have this experience. It's the passion part of you that's coming out. Now, granted, some of us do click and buy a little bit too much, right? That happens. We're all guilty. Some of us more than others. But anyways, that's not the point. The point is that don't forget what you're doing here, whether you're a hobbyist or you're a pro musician or you're a working musician or whatever title that they've thrown on you or that you want to be called, is that you want to have these experiences. And one of them is to create. You're creating a sound. And so if you go, hey, man, these guys all say, the Kemper's the cat, the cat's pajamas. That's a horrible saying, isn't it? Okay, so this is the new thing to do, but I don't enjoy it. Well, that's your job, is to figure out what you enjoy, what inspires you, what makes you do something. Some musicians really just focus on, and I've learned this really through the music store, something I probably wouldn't learn anywhere else. But when you have to sell things to people, you learn what they care about. And if you're going to be successful in business, you're going to learn to take what they care about and help them figure it out. Working musicians, I don't know why I'm doing this. Okay, working musicians really like to play music in front of people. Like that's their passion. It's in them. Like I just want to play in front of people. So they don't need to impress people with a shiny guitar. They don't have, and by the way, impress is sometimes the wrong word. A lot of people go, oh, they bought an expensive guitar because they're trying to impress their, their friends and neighbors. I'm like, well, and sometimes they're trying to artificially give themselves some courage. Sometimes you walk up on stage and you just feel like you have a little bit more courage when your guitar is a little cooler, whether it's expensive or just you feel it's cool, right? It's a lot easier to walk up. kind of on a weird tirade. It's a lot easier to walk up to a girl if you think you dress nice. You know, you're like, got my stuff dialed in. You know, I walk up, you know, I can talk to this person. I feel confident. Same thing with musician. You walk on that stage, you need all the courage you can muster. And if a $3,000 Strat does that for you, well, good. Because for some, that wouldn't even be close to what you need, right? You need more than that to get the courage. So my point is, tone-wise, we talk about it on the show, and I notice I don't take any hard lines in any direction which is where sometimes my channel suffers, because I would do a lot better if I just picked a vein. Like, in other words, picked a group of you and said, just feed you guys what you want, right? To say, hey, this brand sucks and this brand's great, and that's all we'll talk about every week. We'll just bash on these brands and, praise these brands or whatever we talk about. But really, it's just about, like I said, I want to talk about it all because I'm interested in it all. But I think in your world, what reason I'm answering your question this way is because I think you should, if this is what inspires you to make great music, that's what you need. And like I said, and if what inspires you is a Boss Katana and a $300, Epiphone, like I said, that's awesome. I think that's cool. I think it's amazing. I'll segue into a funny story. So my buddy Pat, who's amazing, by the way, Pat was my first customer in my store, and he's just a lifetime friend. Really cool guy. He's moving. He's moving out of the city. So he's doing what a lot of people are doing. He's selling his big house, and he's going to a smaller house that's really cool where the weather is great. He's decided having a nicer house where it's 115 is not as cool, literally, as having a smaller house where it is cool. And so he's thinning down the herd, as we all know, and he's getting rid of a bunch of guitars. And he asked me if I'd help him sell them a little bit. Or maybe I volunteered. Actually, I volunteered. Let's just put it there. I volunteered to sell them. Anyways, and of course, I'm trying not to buy all of them. But he gave me a really nice gift, me and Shauna, this week. He said, hey, I got these concert tickets. I can't go. Do you want to go? So we went last night. I went and saw Christopher Cross, Men at Work, and Toto. So right now I can hear the, oh, that's awesome, and ooh at the same time, right? I'm a huge Christopher Cross fan. I am, right? It's just somebody who was the earliest memories for me in music. One of the earliest memories I have of music in my life is in my mom's car, sitting in the front seat when kids used to sit in the front seat with no seatbelt, because my mom's seatbelt was her arm, and Christopher Cross songs. That's like, she must have had the cassette. Kind of could have been 8-track. I'm pretty sure it was cassette though, but it could have been an 8-track. And we listening to that over and over again, because that's what happened back then when you didn't have streaming satellite or iTunes in your car. You listen to the same tracks over and over again. So we would listen to Christopher Cross. And of course, he was playing Tom Anderson guitars. Let me just tell you, Christopher Cross is 74 years old. His voice was amazing. His band was dialed in. The sound was perfect, and he was awesome. And nothing he played warranted a $4,000 Tom Anderson. Like, if I was the internet, I'd be like, man, you got a $6,000 custom Tom Anderson to strum just those 4 chords, right? His tone, by the way, was amazing. It was pretty well. He's playing some divided by 13s. Oh, he had 3 amps, because you need 3 amps. He had 3 divided by 13 amps and a huge pedal board. Huge meaning bigger than, right? Big enough. And then, of course, his Tom Anderson guitars. And I was laughing, going, isn't that funny? Like, if this guy wasn't Christopher Cross, if this guy was in a bar, 4 douchey guitar players would make fun of him. GC&D, man, $6,000 guitar for that. The guy's got more guitars than he's got chords, right? Like, it just made me laugh. In fact, at some point with Shauna, I just laughed at the show. I just laughed, right? Actually, I'll tell you exactly when I laughed. Even though he sings romantic love songs, which, by the way, take your women to those at concerts. That's a great idea. So anyways, they were watching it, and at some point, he busts out, oh man, Christopher Cross. Let me tell you, Christopher Cross never going to see this, but just in case the internet's weird and Christopher Cross ever sees this, I'd like to point out, I bought your shirt. I bought my wife your shirt. You were amazing. And now I'm going to say the next thing. So please don't get mad at me. Boy, did he bust out this one pentatonic solo. And it was, it was average. It was boop, 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 boop. And the crowd, this is why I'm telling you this. He's like, boop, boop, boop. And they're like, wow. People are like, wow. And I'm like, blowing their mind, all 6 notes. So my point, why am I saying this? Not to bash on Christopher Cross. My point is to talk about this in a practical sense, which is, why does he have expensive guitars and expensive amps? Because Christopher Cross, that's what he wants to make music. That's what inspires him. That's what motivated him. The next band, Men at Work, had no amps on stage at all. I can assume all of it was digital. They sounded fantastic, by the way. And then, of course, if I don't say the next thing, you guys are going to kill me, which is then Toto came out. Of course, Steve Lukather played continuously. He was amazing. By the way, there's a Steve Lukather guitar right there. I did that as a tribute. Got to pull out a Steve Lukather guitar. This is my friend Pat's, by the way. Anyways, he was amazing. Toto was amazing. And they sounded great. And the show was amazing. And, of course, he was playing his Bogner half stacks with pedals and of course, his Music Man guitars. So that's my whole way of saying, this discussion every week, if there's one thing we could talk about that's more important than anything else in the show is that as musicians that are trying to communicate with each other, even through the internet, even through QA, send me a topic or question, we talk. If there's one thing we should all learn from each other is that we all have different needs and wants and desires of what we're trying to accomplish. And whatever it is that works for you, it works for you. It's okay, though, also to have a hard opinion on what you like. That's the other thing, too. You can, and I see this a lot. And I think it's because when I talk about the future is going to be modeling and modeling and, of course, profiling, I see people going, oh, but Phil, you don't understand. I'm like, well, wait a minute, man. I understand a lot. And I'm 4 amps because I don't have to drag them anywhere. Well, my point isn't that this is not as good as a profiler. My point is that this is harder than a profiler to move around economically and physically. And that is why those things are going to be prevalent in the future. And it's just about having a discussion about that. But man, yeah, so if you can have an amp, play an amp. One guy told me, by the way, a couple weeks ago, he said, Phil, what you don't understand is that everything goes in cycles. In 10 years, they're all going to be playing amps again. I'm like, if they can afford to, they will. That is true. But it's a lot of it is expense. A lot of them, I don't hear people saying, man, I don't need an amp anymore, Phil. I can use a modeler. I hear, man, Phil, it is so much easier to use the modeler. It's economically and physically. So, what else do we have? I wanted to talk about the concert, so I'm glad I got to tie that in too, because I want to thank my buddy Pat for those tickets. That was awesome. I sent him a message today. I don't know if he got it yet. And I thought there was one other thing before we go. I know I had a couple more quick ones that I got. I know Sam's second part that I didn't get to was what gain pedal works well with the JTM 20. I mean, it's a preference of your sound. Are you trying to get the Marshall sound out of the amp, at a lower volume? I like the pedal pal for Marshall sound. I like the 1984? It's just called the 87. The 87 by LPD is my high gain pedal, is what I use. I mean, obviously, I like what I use when it comes to pedals. So what pedals do I use? I use the Pedal Pal Plexi pedal. I use the Blues Breaker pedal by Marshall. I use the Raya pedal, which is a Klon kind of boost. I use the 87. And that's pretty much what I use now for gain. There's a few others that I like. And then I love lots of boosts. I use the Taurus pedals for boost. I'll use some exotic pedals for boost. I like a lot of boost pedals into an amp too, but those are the gain pedals I use. But there's so many pedals. It's like a tough question to answer. Albert has he maybe a question? I don't know. Let's see. He says, happy Friday, Phil. I got an X Series Rhodes 7-string with an 8185 EMGs. I wanted to upgrade electronics to any recommendations and kind of pots. I don't recommend that you upgrade the pots. Usually the 8185 set that they use, EMG provides usually, even especially if it was installed by the manufacturer, it came as a kit from EMG, most likely. That's how EMG does it. Keeps it pretty easy. They use small dime-sized potentiometers. They're 25K. They're designed specifically to be with those pickups. Nothing that I've ever experienced. There is no significant upgrade in potentiometers to those types of pickups. Remember, those pickups kind of like having all that resistance. Kind of, it's like, I don't know if that's, when I say this stuff, some people get really itchy about it. Anyways, the only thing sometimes I've modified personally or for customers for EMG type products is the 3-way switches. By the way, no proprietary technology or components with EMGs. So you don't have to use any brand of potentiometer or anything like that. My guess also is if you haven't pulled it apart to look inside, it's probably going to be all plug and play, which means those potentiometers have those pins where the pen cables lock, because again, they sell it as a kit. So you're going to have to just gut all that stuff. None of the stuff you're going to put in there is going to improve any sound whatsoever. I promise you. I just promise you. I've done it. And because customers have asked me to do it, and there's just no gain there. The only thing that you can do sometimes, if they're using a cheap, which is not usually the case, if they're using a cheaper stereo, because they're going to use a stereo output jack. The reason is because they need one. The stereo output jack isn't running stereo. Obviously, what they need is essentially three connections. Right? They need the ground, then they need the hot, right, for the cable, and then they need another ground, which connects the battery. So when you unplug the cable, the battery's disconnected. That's how. Otherwise, if you leave the cable in your guitar all the time, your battery's running. Your battery is running. Those EMGs are running on battery until there's no cable in the guitar. So that's why they'll use a stereo plug, because that's how they can wire it up that way. They need a third terminal, so to speak, second terminal, but third thing. I don't know what you would call it, because one's a sleeve, one's a terminal, and the other one's a terminal. So the only thing I usually recommend upgrading is the switches, because again, they're not proprietary and they might use a cheaper switch. So whether you have a 3-way, a 5-way, a toggle, a blade, sometimes upgrading that to a better quality switch is a nice improvement. But I wouldn't even do that. I mean, it's up to you. That's a preference. And like I said, I mean, if you're going to be on stage and you're worried about a switch failing, maybe upgrading to a quality switch would make you feel a little better. And, this kind of ties back into what we're talking about, confidence on stage. One of the things that helps me, what helps me on stage when I've been on stage many times in my life, what is paramount to me is stuff not breaking. I freak out constantly, I worry about, I get on stage and it shorts out or it cuts out or something stops. So that is where, when I walk on stage and I know that everything's going to work, or at least I believe everything's going to work, my confidence level, I just perform so much better. I play so much better and I feel so much better. I have a good time knowing, that everything's working. So I understand if you want to upgrade the switch, but that's all I would upgrade on that. Ellie Worth, this is my best guess, 1938, says, I'm looking for a Telebridge pickup size humbucker, looking for something that sounds close to a PAF. The Duncans seemed very hot. Any suggestions? The Duncans have a little 59, right? Is that the one that you thought was a little hot? Because that's supposed to be like a PAF, right? A little lower output, vintage output pickup. So I would say that's what I would go with. And do they have a little pearly gates? And if not, go with the little pearly gates. Those would be both great suggestions for a Telebridge pickup that's humbucker-ish and a little lower output. Also, keep in mind the way those blades work. You may want to back them away from the strings and soften it up a little bit. It's just how it kind of works, because they're using a big bar magnet on the bottom and then 2 blades. And so sometimes you want to back it away a little bit, soften it. We'll just soften. Happy good thing, says Rock Out Phil. Thanks. I think I will. I have a nice weekend this weekend. Tomorrow is coffee with me for the premium subscribers, Patreon members. And then Friday is a live clinic with the mid-tier and above. So I'm looking forward to those things. Let me show you what I was going to show you today. Okay. So let me make sure I'm not giving you my credit card information. Okay, here's how it works. Okay, so a lot of you have noticed, and I'm going to share with you. I'm going to go to my screen. Can I go to my screen and share with you? I can. Let's go to my screen. Here you go. So this is me. That's me, but that was me 20 seconds ago. That's me 20, 30, 60 seconds ago. So I know you think I'm making a Spaceballs joke, but wait, I just want you to know the show is on a 60-second lag. I don't know if you know that. All live is on a lag. And you set the lag. Mine is set for 60 seconds. It's so that if you guys do something crazy, I guess they can fix it. I don't know why. But anyways, I'm only pointing this out because I'm going to switch to a screen where you see me, but you're going to be seeing me from 60 seconds ago. Because it'd be really weird if it's from 60 seconds in the future. Anyways, that's me 60 seconds ago. Explaining to you that I'm from the past. So here's your sign-ons. A lot of people have been talking about the sign-ons, like here's Frank, and somebody's like, hey, somebody's sign-ons are being changed, okay? I got a lot of questions about your sign-ons being different, and let me explain what I think I know, and this is my best understanding of it. I reached out to whoever I could, and what we believe has happened is YouTube has done some updates. I don't know if these are permanent updates, so in other words, if it's back to normal, it's back to normal, okay? That's one, okay? And if it's not back to another normal, keep in mind that it could go back. It could be, we don't know what YouTube's doing, okay? I don't really want to talk, I do want to talk about that. I don't want to worry about that. What I want you to understand is that if your sign-on, okay, is weird, I just want to show you how you fix it. So you go into your YouTube account, so you'll click on your face and there'll be a drop-down menu and you'll go to what you're called your YouTube studio, okay? And then, let me find my screen. There we are. Ditch that. Okay, go back here. I'm going to show you in order. So, okay. So you're going to have the YouTube Studio. You'll click here, YouTube Studio. When you go into YouTube Studio, it will look like another screen. It'll look like this. You're going to click Customizations right here. This is where you can upload your banner image. That's what we use for our banner image. This is my picture. That's me with a Paoletti guitar. Why? Because I don't know. It's random. Just a random picture. And then here's the name of my channel. And then this is your handle. And you can change this. Now, when you change this, as soon as you do it, I think if it's something that's already taken, it'll go red and tell you no. Okay. So you can name yourself whatever you want here if you don't know that. Okay. And that's it. And it updates rather quickly, usually within 20 to 30 minutes. And you can change it twice every 14 days. So every 2 weeks, you can change it twice. I don't know why you'd want to know that. Probably for some of you people that want to change your sign-on all the time. I don't know. But my point is, if you're being affected with the new sign-on and it's showing your weird display sign-on name, but not your channel name, you can change your sign-on. Now, I think most of it's back to normal. As I was being told, it's like on your channel, it's doing it, but on another channel. And then it says channels that have the update have the new thing. However, the reason I'm telling you this is I'm assuming that if you're hanging out with me live, you like the internet and you like YouTube. And just let me tell you some things that I've noticed YouTube doing over the last couple years when it comes to us. They are tracking us better. And this isn't a creepy AI Big Brother speech. This is more features, to give more features to us, to the creators and you to communicate with each other. And for instance, if you haven't noticed, you might notice when you're watching a feed, you're getting a crown and you're like, what's the crown? It means that you're the commenting the most. When I see your sign-ons now, I can look at a quick thing in my app and see who comments the most on my videos, right? So for instance, like if I go into my channel right now, let me do that real quick on my phone. I should be able to click here, comments, give it a second. Okay, and Michael Olson, you joined 4 years ago, and you've made 45 comments on my channel. So I thank you for that. And this isn't like a creepy thing. I think this is cool. It lets me know. So things I get to see now. If you're subscribed to me, I get a little subscription icon that tells me you're a subscriber to my channel, which really perks up my eyes when I'm seeing a comment and I see, oh, subscriber. Oh, let's see what they have to say. Versus, sometimes if you're if you're a content creator, you're very aware that your normal people come in and watch your videos from time to time, even if they're not subscribers. And then when you get some weird comments, you're like, oh, I must be reaching out to new people that don't know who I am, and the new people that just can't wait to hate me. So anyway, this is really cool. So it tells me like this person. Here's a good one because he's a patron and a huge supporter of the channel. Yardbird68. He is in my top commenters on my channel. So thank you, Yardbird, for that. You've done 100+ comments on the channel. So you don't get an award for that. You just get my thanks. So I'm wondering if some of this stuff, it has to do with how they're tracking all that information. And the reason I tell you that is, hey, look, everybody's going to have an opinion about that. But let me just tell you, I think some of this could be driven towards the concept of, I can tell you that when I have been doing surveys, because I get surveyed as a content creator and YouTube, and I give them feedback. One of the feedbacks I give them is, I don't talk to the trolls. It's just not what I do. I don't talk to the trolls. When I say talk to the trolls, I don't respond to troll comments. I don't respond to troll emails. I don't talk, like a lot of content creators now, their whole thing is literally they only talk to trolls. Like not only do they comment like typing, but they make videos talking. And when they're talking, they're actually talking to the trolls, if that makes any sense. Like they're like, I know you guys all hate it, that I like this guitar, but I hate you all too. Like, I don't try to talk to the smallest group, which is the smallest group is the troll group. Not because they're negative. They're the smallest group. Their negative makes that easy decision, but I wouldn't want to talk to the smallest group. The reason is maybe that's some military training and maybe that's some corporate training that I have where I don't pull everyone out to crap on everyone because I'm mad at 2 employees and 2 employees are screwing up. The people I'm upset with, I don't need to tell you guys that some of you suck. I hope that makes sense. By the way, anybody's going to say, what about corporal punishment? Yeah, that happens in basic, but in active duty, you don't get a whole lot of corporal punishment. Usually, you get pulled in personally. So, and when you complain upward, you go through your chain of command. So that's just the way I think. So I'm not going to tell all of you about the 4 people that suck. So I think this is going to help us creators focus on positive. And the reason I'm telling you that is I think as a whole, YouTube is getting a little bit, like a lot of social media, a little bit too negative, too easy to be negative, both sides. Me to you, you to me. Not that it's wrong. I'm not complaining about it. You're always going to have that. Some of it's actually constructive feedback, and I will tell you this, something I had to teach both my son and my wife, because they get to see a lot of comments, is that a lot of people who are assholes think they're funny. Like, it's just failed comedy. It reads bad because it's just bad comedy. I always tell them, I go, sometimes if you reread that, like that was supposed to be a joke, you're like, oh, that's just a crappy joke. He's not an angry person. He just doesn't know how to deliver a punchline in typing, because that typing is really hard. No inflection in voice, no nothing like that. So I just want to share all that with you at the end of the show. I think that maybe that's helpful to you. And then let's button it up with any comments or questions about that. Frozen Crap Hole Dweller, God, what a name, says, do live stream comments count to the count? I don't know. I don't believe so. I just don't know. So I don't know how that, what they track and what they don't track on that. I'm sure I could find out. I could find out for you, because there's a YouTube correspondent you can reach out to, and they help you with certain things, but mostly not a lot of things. And then Hoster Drama says you need to spread this to others. Well, I'm spreading it to you guys. You spread it to others. If you're going on a live show, let that live person look. This is time stamped. Just say Phil McKnight says this, and then go to the time stamp, and you can share the timestamp, and it goes right to it, and then say this is the outline of it. This is why I'm doing it. It's because, and I saved it at the end of the show because I figured, the the people that just wanted to guitar talk with guitar talk. But obviously you guys that come live every Friday are why the live show does so well. Obviously I get 50,000 views in replay because there's 1,000 people here live, and that really gets the algorithm going. You guys really chumming the waters for the algorithm. So I want you guys to be the best informed you can to help the channel and maybe help other channels too, because that's at the end of the day, this is just a community. It feels like a big community. It's not. It's just not. There's YouTube people that I watch outside of the guitar channel, our guitar world, that have less subscribers than me, that do 30,000 live people when they do a stream. And I go, 30,000 live people watching this person talk live. I'm like, and they have 200,000 subscribers. I'm like, it's crazy. So it's a small community, guys. And I appreciate it. Okay, let's see if there's one more last comment about any of this stuff. And I don't think so. Okay. All right. And then on that note, I want to thank you guys for hanging out to the end of the podcast. This week's we have actual deep dives coming back out. So we have a plethora of deep dives. Like I said, they got held back because, and I want to thank everybody for supporting me while I was putting out the amp videos. I know they're not as exciting view-wise, as the guitar deep dives, but they're a lot easier to edit. And so when I'm spending half my day editing content that can't come out for months, but I need it to start getting approved. And then hopefully, so you guys know, on a positive note, Sweetwater has watched the final edit of the Mike Clem interview, and then they're reviewing it to make sure that there's nothing that I said or he said that's has issue. And keep in mind, a lot of it's for accuracy, to make sure they want to make sure it's accurate. Whatever's being said is accurate. And then so that might hopefully be this week. And that was really an interesting interview because, and hopefully it will come out next week, and then we could talk about it next Friday, because I hope a lot of you will watch the Mike Clem interview with Sweetwater as a compare and contrast to Gabe. It was really, I think the smartest takeaway I have from them two is two guys literally run 50% of the guitar sales in the country, in the United States. And if you watch them both, not that anyone's better than the other, not that in any way, just compare, contrast. Like, wow, I think everything I think about Guitar Center, when you watch Gabe, I'm like, that kind of makes sense. And when everything I think about Sweetwater, when I watch Mike, I go, that kind of makes sense. Like, it's kind of funny how it works that way. So anyways, I want to thank the moderators for putting the links, for helping you guys with questions, for posting questions to me, for doing all the stuff they do. That's awesome. And we'll see you guys next Friday. And tip your waiter. If you're learning something or having a good time, don't forget you can subscribe for free and help this channel. Or for $10 a month, you can join me on Patreon for live clinics where you can ask questions every single week.